Hi, I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby, and with me is the Emmy-nominated star and producer of The Flight Attendant, Kaley Cuoco. Uh, Congrats on these nominations. It's really wonderful to see
Thank
your name
you.
up there. There's actually a really great video you have online, a clip of your reaction to your nominations, finding out what was going through your head while you're hearing your name up there.
Oh my God. My mom came over to watch with me, and so she started recording. And uh, I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's literally 30. And I've been so lucky, and I've never watched announcements. I've never even thought I'd be part of them. And I never, not that it's not a goal, but I just haven't thought that way. I've been so lucky I've been able to work for 30 years, and that's just a total gift. So when I heard, I mean, I think when Globes came out and then things started coming, but Emmys has been, I'm a TV girl, so to get that one was my heart just I was so overwhelmed, and then to see the show get it, and then to see Rosie, it was like it made me feel like, oh my God, they're not just seeing me, they're seeing the whole show, and that's what you hope for. I mean, I was going down with this ship one way or another, so it's like if it wasn't good, it was totally going to be my fault. So I just was like fingers crossed that people would even watch it. So it's been unbelievable.
Yeah. There was, Big Bang was on for so long, I believe 12 years. And there were a few years, at Gold Derby, we were keeping track of the awards races and we thought you might get in there, but nothing for those 12 years. So was this trajectory after the SAG and after the Globes, did you sort of anticipate that this might uh, be your time to be there?
I don't think you can ever anticipate that. I think then you start getting into like, you just can't do that. And crazy things happen. You think someone's going to get it, and then someone comes out of nowhere, and it's such. And then to look, I think what blew my mind, and I didn't even know it when I was watching, it was only five. I was like, I mean, that was like, and there's so many good actors and so many good shows. And no, I didn't. I was not thinking it was a shoe-in at all. That's why I was watching, like, oh my gosh, like, could this happen? Like, this was such a big deal. And in no way did I assume, in no way. So it was a total surprise. And I'll never forget that moment. And I even told my team, I'm like, don't forget how this feels, because we don't know when it will happen again. Like, I don't assume we'll ever be here again. So I've been with my team since I was 14. I'm talking all my agents, managers, everybody has been on Team Cuoco since I was 14 years old. And so this is like a family, and we got to this point. And so I just want everyone to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. Um, and just going back to sort of the creation of this series, your production company sort of optioned the rights to this book, and I'm curious, when you read the book, what was it about her, about this character, that just made you say, I have to play her, I want this as a series?
So it actually wasn't the company. It was actually me. I didn't even have the company at this point. And I was like, okay, I need an excuse to have a company. So, like, if I find something good, maybe I can option it. And I was innocently scrolling through Amazon. It's like so cheesy, upcoming books. And I saw Flight Attendant, and I was like, oh my God. And you know how they give you like two sentences of what it was? And I got this chill, and I immediately called my attorney, and I was like, did Reese Witherspoon get the right to the Flight Attendant yet? He was like, what? I'm like, just look, will you just go look? He's like, okay. And he's like, no, and it's not out yet. And what is this book? I'm like, that's the book I want. And I hadn't even read it. And so I got the team, we all read it. And then it was I get asked a lot, because I was on Big Bang for so many years, you must have been really on the hunt for something different so you could play. I really wasn't. It wasn't like that. It was, I follow my heart. I think about what kind of stories I want to tell. And the book was obviously quite good, and it was very dark, but it was Cassie that I was attracted to. I was like, oh my gosh, this would be an actor's dream. I mean, the girl is so messed up, yet also so lovable, so hilarious, so tragic. It was like I got to play 10 different characters. And I also kind of felt like no one would actually hire me to play her. So I felt like I needed to take this one on my own and be like, this is what I'm doing. Get on board or not. And as I'm like in the corner going, oh my God, really? Did they say yes?
Yeah, it is very different from your role in Big Bang Theory, because of what you mentioned. She's kind of, she has a habit of lying. She has a drinking habit. Did you prepare for a role like this differently than you would for a more straight up sitcom?
No. I have to be honest. No. I just always felt I was Cassie. I'm very emotional. I'm also very reactive. This character is very reactive. So every time I was on set, I liked not really knowing what was going to happen, what this actor was going to play, how he was going to play against me. And she's a whirlwind. And like I said, she's reactive. And so I just knew I needed to be in the moment for her. I also wanted to be very careful because she is a functioning alcoholic. She is someone who drinks all day long. And I wanted to be, that was the one thing I thought a lot about. You cannot play someone drunk all day long. You can't play that. You can't. So I looked at it more as she's normal when she's drinking, when she's kind of slowly medicating herself during the day. Obviously she gets out of control at night or when she's partying, and then when the alcohol is taken away is when the real trouble happens, like in the jail and the memories, and she starts to fall apart. But I kind of justified it in the sense that actually her kind of doing those sips during the day is what kept her even keeled. That's kind of like her line. So, but other than that, I really, I just kind of did everything by the seat of my pants. That's kind of how I am. And no one really believed me the first weeks. They were like, do you want to like rehearse? Should we talk about this? I was like, no. See you out there. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, yes. And that's just, everyone's process is so different. It's actually funny. McKeel, who played Alex, who I adore, we're so different. He wants to like rehearse and talk about things. And I'm like, McKeel, let's go. But we both had to meet in the middle because I'm like, that's how he needs it. And then he saw how I needed it. And we actually taught each other a lot. It was very cool.
Yeah, I actually, some of the scenes with McKeel are, the chemistry between you two is great. And it makes those scenes that happen in her head really fun to watch. What, were there sort of like different rules for those scenes at all? Because it's such a wildly different kind of maybe fantastical or surreal space.
Definitely surreal and definitely in her head. I also, sometimes I would justify things. I'm like, it's the Mind Palace. We can do whatever we want. So if something maybe was a little, I'm like, it's the Mind Palace. This is what we're doing. And it was always like, Mind Palace, Mind Palace. But yeah, it had such a surrealness to it. But it was also, this is all kind of going on in her head, and it was a great device. I really give the props to Steve Yockey, our showrunner, who came up with that idea, because, we've seen so many things of the ghost or someone like haunting this person or flashbacks, but to be able to have, we called it the Mind Palace, and really see what was going on in her brain, I thought was really interesting and a great way for the audience to get on board, with the wild ride that is going on.
Yeah. And I think one of my favorite aspects of your character is just, it's crazy to watch her dig herself continually into these holes.
Cassie!
I just remember, my boyfriend started the show earlier than I did. And when I finally watched the premiere, I was texting like, why is she cleaning the crime scene? Why is she doing this? So what is it like kind of playing those really heightened, there's a lot of really heightened moments in a show that is otherwise very grounded.
We do this. If I could tell you how many times we discussed the tone of this show, I should have tattooed it on my head. Tone. Really quick, talking to the wiping up the crime scene. So of course it looks so crazy, right? I don't know about you. I watch so much Dateline. That was the only way I could understand that this girl did this, because there are so many stories where people, they really panic and and they're innocent, or you see them run, or they even like say things to the police that aren't true. And you're like, we know you didn't do that. Like, what are you doing? But panic and fear sometimes takes over people, and they do things that you would never normally do. And so that's how I justified it. Because I'm like, oh, I've seen so many Datelines like this where I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you running? Why do you have glasses on? What are you hiding from? Are you nuts? You're going to look so guilty. So that justified it for me. But yeah, there was a lot. I mean, doing waking up next to Alex, obviously that whole thing. And then working that out again, it was just being in the moment and experiencing it and kind of pretending. Can you imagine? I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine that happening to you and being in a different country with no one you know around, I mean, that alone can make your heart start pounding.
Yeah. Since you did, you are a producer on this, and since you did get that book rights yourself, did you have an initial concept of what the tone and style was going to be? Because it's very unique and really moves along, I
I
think.
still don't know what the tone and style is. I'm still asking myself that question. Like, what did we do? All I knew, look, the book is very dark. I think I already said that, but the book is very dark, and there's not 1 ounce of comedy in the book. The book was great, but I was like, okay, this is not, we called it bringing Cuoco-isms to it, because I'm like, we've got to bring some sort of ridiculousness to it and make it a little more cat and mouse and a little more fun. But it was really high and it was really up and down. I mean, we got so many questions of really, what is this? What are we laughing? Are we crying? And I would just, it's all the things. It's all the things. That's the tone. You're supposed to feel all the things, and it was a challenge, though. Also, because it was such a challenge, and we were so unsure how it was going to cut together, I did so many different scenes in so many different ways. Like, I would do a comedic take, and then I would do that same take with bawling, crying, or a little more kind of muted, and one really heightened, because you see all the jump cuts and the mime palace. We didn't know how that was going to look. It was such a puzzle. And so I think we could probably edit, and make all different versions of Flight Attendant with how many different takes that we actually had.
Wow. I also was curious because your production company, Yes Norman Production, is behind this, as well as the Harley Quinn animated series, which you do your voiceover for. What sort of led you to want to produce and branch out from acting in this way?
So I never had any desire to produce, for like, never did. And the last few years of Big Bang, a bunch of the actors, maybe all of us, I'm actually not sure, but we had these producing deals on the table, these production deals to like form our own pods. And I'll never forget, they kept offering it to me, and I was like, no, it was not what I wanted. And I remember having a conversation with Johnny Galecki one afternoon. He's like, why aren't you doing this is so great, you could produce. And I'm like, I just don't feel like it. It's not, and I also don't want to do something that I'm not, just because this is on the table. I'm not going to do something I'm not 100% behind. And Johnny knows me very well. He's like, you're going to do it when you're ready. I'm like, yeah. And honestly, it was Flight Attendant. When I found that book, I said, this is it. This is going to launch our little company. I want to produce this. I know how I want to make it. And now I am completely all in. I mean, I see my career going towards mainly producing at one point. I love it. It's also totally crazy, and I've learned so much. And what I don't love about producing is you just know too many things. Like, all the other stuff, the BTS. As an actor, we just kind of come in and do our thing and then leave. But to see the stuff behind and the stuff that doesn't work, and then it can really like eat you alive and just make you want to just cry. But then you see all the stuff come together, and you're like, wow, we did this as a team. So it's been a new experience for me.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a very total experience too. So I wanted to ask, in regards to that, before I let you go, without spoiling anything, because I don't want any spoilers for season 2, but this has obviously been such a big journey for you. What's kind of the biggest thing that you've learned along the way from season 1 that you want to carry forward into
As a producer or as an actor?
Oh, both.
Because I feel like I've learned more behind the scenes, and also that's not true. I mean, I've learned both, but as an actor on this, I remember years and years and years ago when I worked with John Ritter, and it was my first experience on working with someone like that, and just watching him. He was so magnetic, but it was how he treated everybody, and how everyone was like top priority to him. And it's why we were so successful. Obviously, tragedy struck, but people loved him, and people wanted to watch him. People wanted to work for him, and he got the best from everybody and I remember thinking, I would watch him and I'd be like, if I was ever number 1 on that call sheet, I would be like that. I always cry when I mention him, every time. I literally, but it's all good, but every time, but that was what I wanted to do. And so for the first time in my life, I was in that position where I was like, he always called it a tree, and you're the top, and how you act trickles down, right? And that was just that's what I wanted to be. And that was the dream of this show, to be able to set the stage and the standard on how people should be treated, how my actors should be treated, my crew. I mean, I remember thinking like, oh my God, I mean, and we hired this, I got to be part of that process. I'm like, they are there before I get there. They're there after I leave. The editing team, post-production, working from their homes, trying to edit this stuff during COVID, getting these things. I mean, it was, my appreciation for the team and the crew has tenfold. And I wish I knew that sooner. I wish I recognized that at a younger age. But I recognize that now. And it is more than, we get the glory. The actors get, but it is so much more than us.
Well, I think that's an incredible beauty to have, and great thing. We can't wait till season 2 comes out.
I hope you like it. Now I need to know how you feel about it when it comes out, okay?
We'll talk again for season 2 and
Okay.
dish it all.
All right.
So if you're watching out there, subscribe to Gold Derby. Keep up to date with us throughout the entire Emmy season. Kaley, congrats, and thanks for sitting down with me.
Sam, you're so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate it.